All right, we're live. So, last we left off, um, we had just rescued a man by the name of Riz, and he had been accused of selling state secrets. And these secrets were smuggled in a bunch of alcohol that he was selling to someone else. And it appears as though he wasn't aware, or we're pretty sure that he wasn't aware of this scenario, given what we learned from his former companion, Tybir, who joined us as well. So then we leveled up, and we decided for our character, we decided to add the perception skill. So this will allow us to have more options in conversations when we are having, opening up those conversation options, which I think pairs really well with our ability here, which is the scan thoughts ability. So we've been making pretty good use of that. I feel like it's informed some of our decisions and allowed us to go down different routes than we probably would have if we didn't have this. I want to comment that we were in the shop last time. I made some mistakes about who could use what armor. I was looking at the wrong tooltip, but that's okay.
Yes.
Just I figured it out when I looked back and was checking things out. So Riz left. He wanted to actually kill Tybir. He threatened him. We don't know how serious he was, but he seemed pretty angry. And we'll see if we see him later on and maybe he's calmed down. And who knows? Who knows? He was pretty upset. He was going to be put to death. So that is something that is probably worth getting upset about. So at this point, we only have our main quest. And I feel like we can walk around. We don't have a lot of money, unfortunately. We have 76 Shin, and I think we'll go and maybe take a look around. Where do we get the rapier from? That's interesting. I wonder if we got it. Oh, right. Well, we got some stuff when we completed that quest. Let's check out this rapier here. I wish I could just see it next to this. If I want to equip this, compare it. A lot of games allow you to do that. No. And like there's a compare button that you can use. I don't see anything like that. So it's 3 physical damage, plus 3 per effort applied to a max of 9. And it's a light weapon bonus, so this plus 15% on weapon attacks. The slim, sharp sword requires greater precision than a broadsword, but is utterly lethal in the right hands. The decorative hilt protects the wielder's hand. So let's see if... So this is a light. It's 3 and 3. This one is 3 and 3. Value 18. This one is worth a lot more. And it gives us speed. I don't know how to look at that. Oh, no, this one says speed as well. Oh, speed is the stat that it uses. That makes sense. So... why is this one worth so much more? 3 physical damage. Sharp. The reef. I'm not entirely sure why it is worth so much more. 3. I might be missing something. Plus 15. Light weapon bonus. Light weapon bonus. I don't see the difference. Anyway, doesn't matter. Unfortunately, the armor that we bought, we got it for completing the quest, so we have that right here. Maybe we just go sell it and take a look at that shop. It looks like she can't, if I read this, cannot be unequipped. So she can't unequip her armor, cannot be unequipped either. So it looks like, for now at least, we're the only ones that can change our armor out. Interesting if we could find a cloak or maybe some other equipment.
Sure enough.
But I would like to sell that stuff. So maybe let's go back up to that fellow. Maybe there's a shop here. So arms merchant, Prada. Well, let's go to the arms merchant here. Let's see what they have here. We might as well check it out. So the arms merchant. The sign over the stall says, "The Arming Room. Buy, sell, and trade." Under the awning, a skinny man with stooped shoulders and a concave chest is cleaning a filth-caked weapon of some kind. He salutes with a greasy hand. "Done in a moment. Have a look around. If you need anything, let me know." So let's see what he has for sale. So, a bunch of weapons. Not surprised, being an arms merchant. So, I don't see anything here that I would want. There's some maces and whatnot. We could sell this. I don't think we need it. It might be better. Let's check if it's better than the broadsword. So, +4. This one gets +3, but you can go up a lot higher. And its value is 18. What's the value of this one? 16. So, it's worth a little bit less. I think that we will give that to Tybir, because I feel like while you don't get as much per effort applied, you can only ever get the 4 damage, and there might be situations where we want to add that extra notch or 2 of damage because it's going to finish off an enemy. So I think that's what we're going to do. I'll keep the broadsword for, well, no, maybe we sell it. Maybe we sell it. I think we sell everything we don't need right now. Let's see what we can get for some stuff. Show me what you have for sale. Okay, well, he bought it, so that's good. I wonder if he'll buy the armor. Yep, he does. Interesting. I think we'll keep our old armor for now.
Naturally.
I don't know who these folks are. What does it say on the map? No, it doesn't say anything. But this Felinda has a glowing orb over, I guess it's her head. Nearly every inch of this merchant's body is covered in tightly woven robes and furs. A hood obscures its head, and a mask conceals its face. This doesn't stop you from noticing that it is apparently furious with you. Trembling, it bats at its similarly dressed companion. Both of them turn impassive masks back at you. Neither Felinda nor Staristi could believe it, but the thief had come back. Had he come in shame, ready to return what he had taken? No, his hands were empty, his expression baffled. Felinda crosses swaddled arms. Perhaps the thief had simply forgotten to return what he had borrowed, but this made him no less a thief. So, perhaps if we were in fact the changing god in the past, maybe in this body, the changing god stole something from Felinda and Staristi. So, are you narrating me? I didn't borrow anything from you, and you must have met the previous inhabitant of this body, as I just thought. And what did he take? So I guess we can ask that. Kind of just go along with it. The thief asked. Belinda faltered, but only for a moment. The merchant's memory was organized as a library shelf, and it remembered this face, twisted with desire for the very book in question. It remembered the same voice making promises it apparently had no intent of keeping. So, these two people apparently speak and think in the third person here. So, Felinda thought the thief's lies were more convincing before. 10 years ago, this thief had borrowed a book. Felinda wondered if the scoundrel was possibly unfamiliar with the definition of the word. It did not mean taking a thing and keeping it, after all. Staristi pointedly returns to work, ignoring you both. Felinda sighs, massaging its temples with gloved hands. But in the end, Felinda took a deep, deep breath and asked the thief to simply return the sealed and long overdue book with the 5-colored sigil on its cover. So, how can you possibly remember who borrowed a book from you 10 years ago? So this was the first thing that I thought was, I thought it was a more recent thing, but apparently this was quite a while. I'll find the book, you have my word. That might be tough. Sounds like it was an important book, so that could make it both easier and harder to find. I can't promise anything, but I'll look for it. I have no time for this. So how can you possibly remember who borrowed a book from you 10 years ago? The cunning thief said, hoping to arouse doubt in Felinda's mind. But the hope was a foolish one. Felinda was memory in the same way that a thief was fatty tissue fluids and chunks of calcium. The merchant crosses its arms. Felinda was out of patience. Was the thief going to return the book or not? Can't promise anything, but I'll look for it. So Gold Tide raised a tiny amount. The thief muttered, ashamed, but Felinda was satisfied, temporarily. And with that, the merchant returns to its work as well. Why do you narrate everything I say? The thief said, but Felinda knew from long experience that there was no explaining it. The merchant kneels before a bookshelf and jams book after book into the remaining space. This frustrated Felinda. After all, the two merchants were creatures of words, bound in metal and cloth. But whenever Felinda tried to bend these same words into explanations and answers, they crumbled and fell apart. They could not fold themselves around the truth. So we have her thoughts here, and once again, Felinda was exonerated. The thief knew he was a thief. So, once again, she apparently has this grudge that she holds against us. I guess warranted, perhaps not, but we don't know. I don't have any memory, of course, of stealing a book, and see if we come across it. And why won't you tell me why you're narrating everything I say? I think we'll just say farewell.
I'll remember that.
She said that she already tried to explain it to us previously, and apparently we did not understand it. So we did get a quest for that. Borrowed and lost. Felinda, a bookseller in Circus Minor, has accused me of borrowing a very rare book and never returning it. I have no memory of such a thing, so it seems likely that the changing god was the real culprit, perhaps when he was wearing the body that is now mine. It seemed important to Felinda that I find and return the book. So here's like our first kind of, these are kind of like clues or steps that we have, a combination of both. Find the book Felinda claims I borrowed. So I need to find the book that I supposedly borrowed. Felinda didn't provide any clues about its whereabouts, but did mention that the book has a 5-colored sigil on its cover. So maybe we'll come across this book. I don't know if there's going to be any way that we can specifically search for it, or if we're going to have any clues or anything like that, but we may just find it one day in our travels. I wanted to go to the Codex, actually. And I wanted to... I don't know what these are. I wanted to see some stuff about the government square. So the Council of Sagas Cliffs meets on the sun-swept square at the top of the crag, overlooking the broad waters of Garavia Sound. Enormous synth slabs pave the square, and the tips of the ancient spacefaring vessels protrude from the ground, now repurposed as public buildings. Maybe those are similar to the vessels that we saw at the beginning of the game. And also, I thought when I looked at the building that we crashed into that perhaps the roof was made of clay or something like that. But actually, I remembered when we looked at the rubble, it said that there was a bunch of synth on the ground. So it seems that synth is an important building material, and it might have other properties. I don't know anything about it yet, though. The Order of Truth maintains its small, independent headquarters inside one of the starships, and emissaries from strange places meet in the Red Thicket, where their words cannot be overheard. So there's some secretive things that go on in the government square, and we've also got the Order of Truth there. We knew that they were there, but it sounds like they have an independent headquarters, so it's not part of the office that is in there. Okay, great. So, I don't know. Oh, yeah, El Ginto's the guy. We need to apparently pay to talk to this guy here. I think we want to hold on to our money. I don't really want to go down there. I'd rather go up and check out, go back to the armor merchant. I don't quite remember his name. Salingro, I believe. And we will sell the armor that we got for the quest. I don't see a reason to hang on to it. So.
Yes. Now.
Sangolin. We're pretty low on money, so I think it's probably a good idea. Sangolin bows as you enter. Welcome back, sir. It is an honor to serve you again. What can I do for you? Tell me what you sell. I would like to see what you have to sell. So, oh, right. We were able to sell our other armor to the arms merchant. I forgot that. I wanted to see if there was a cloak. That's right. Cloak here. So it's 155. We don't quite have enough. I wonder if there's anything. So it looks like we could sell this. I think that these here are just trinkets that you sell, these oddities. I don't know if they have any use later on in the game. Let's take a look at this. So it gives us 1 resistance, and when damaged by energy, chemical, mental, or transdimensional damage, confers grounding cloak, plus 15% on all tasks, 1 use. And it's only usable by us. Seems that everything that we buy in terms of armor and whatnot is only usable by us. This cloak, while heavy, has a very smooth surface when touched. It has a little static electricity on the outside, which creates small sparks when holding something metallic to it. A brown substance that contains small web-like vines impregnates the cloak, connecting to wiring embedded in the fabric. Cloak has the capacity to absorb overwhelming electrical charges. So my mystical ability is coming up here in the item description. I haven't seen this before, so this is a cool way that one of the skills that we have is going to give us more information. So, lore, mystical, trained. You know of a legend that tells of a nano obsessed with electricity creating a cloak, perhaps this cloak, to protect him against the dangers facing him during his studies. Tales tell that when he was on the brink of full control over natural and artificial electricity, but he died during a thunderstorm, throwing his cloak away while shouting, "I got it." So, he probably should have kept the cloak, I guess. So, we're going to sell this. I'm going to try and get up some money, because I would like to. We'll sell this Tar River Globe too. I'm not going to hang on to it. I don't think it's necessarily useful. That puts us at 152. Man. 3 points of might. This will give us 20. How much are these worth again? 30, 18. Do you guys have anything to sell? Yeah, sure don't. Wow. Okay, so I think we'll get rid of this. I'm going to sell it just so that I can get this cloak. I feel like the cloak is a good investment, and it's going to keep us safe. We are pretty squishy, and I would like to improve our chances to stay alive. So we are going to spend almost all of our money on this cloak. So that's a pretty big investment for us. Ooh, look at that. Oh, it intersects with the shield. Bad. Anyway. All right. So we have the 1 resistance, and when we're damaged, it confers plus 15% on all tasks. Okay. So it'll give us a little bit more resistance. So we have 3 now. So that's what we had from our original armor anyway. And then we now have from our original clothing that we were wearing, I mean armor in the general sense. And then, of course, we have the 1 armor now as well. So we'll see how this cloak works out. I wonder if we can heal ourselves right now when we're not in combat. Yeah, I can, because it's not a... It has a maximum number of uses per day, so it would expend itself.
On my way.
Okay, well, we don't have any money, so we can't go shopping. I think we go and we try to see where the Order of Truth is. So let's go ahead and explore around in the government district. Let's see what we can see. So we got Sagas town person, city official, wealthy town person, a nano.
All right.
And if we check the map, it's going to tell us things about where these... So this is the Red Thicket. It talked about that. It sounded like that was the... What did it say in our codex? That's like the secret meeting place, I think it said. So... and emissaries from strange places meet in the red thicket where their words cannot be overheard. So you can have conversations in this place that apparently you can't be heard, and perhaps these strange objects, these devices or objects or whatever they are, have some effect where they make it so that your conversation can't be overheard. They have a silencing effect or something along those lines. Maybe too, they keep your minds from being read because, well, I can read minds. I wonder if I could read minds in there. Where does this lead? Caravanserai. Caravanserai. I don't know where that is. That leaves the area 2. That's to the Order of Truth. Ladder to the Underbelly. So that's where Alagern is waiting for us. Appears to be some kind of portal here. Interesting. We've got some sort of effect going on over here. So there's this portal and then these moats. It's mentioned moats before. Let's see if there's anything in the map that tells us anything about what it is. It doesn't. So here's the Council Tower. So this is the main one. These are the spaceship. I guess they were starships once upon a time, and they've now been repurposed to these buildings that these organizations use. And I noticed this tower in the picture. And I wonder what it's a tower of. If it's a tower of the creatures of the previous civilizations, and it's left over from that, or maybe it's something else. I don't know. We have some towers over here as well. So we've been here before because we came to speak to the council clerk, and of course this is where the council is housed, and we have the levies, the guards, and it looks like these little guys here are perhaps additional sentries of some kind. Maybe they fight, maybe they go search for things or search for people, keep track of you if you try to run away. It's hard to know. There's children over here. Interesting. Some mercenaries, and then the exit down there. So we did learn about all these places, but we found this interesting. I wonder if this is an exit. Didn't say so on the map. Okay. Well, we can interact with this, so let's go ahead before we do anything else. So, power still flows through this ancient machine. A brassy heartbeat pulses within it, just at the edge of hearing, and tiny bubbles orbit the entire structure. No, not bubbles. Holes in space. Interesting. So these are like little black holes, rips in space-time, whatever they might be. So we can examine the device, look through the orbiting holes in space. Anamnesis, try to remember why this machine feels so familiar. It didn't say anything about it feeling familiar. I guess it's telling us here in the response that it does feel familiar, and we can leave the generator alone. I'm going to examine it first like I normally do. We gain some experience. Your hands slip over the cobbled together components and greasy cables. The buttons are worn from frequent use. It is a strange accomplishment, this machine, clumsy but deft. Amateurish but masterful. Only a brilliant mind could have melded so many disparate parts into a functional device. Unfamiliar memories whisper to you. This device was used, though you don't know how, to generate a field that unmoored everything within it from time itself. Your fingers scrape a rough patch. Lifting them, you see a circinate? Symbol etched into the side like a maker's mark. I want to look up this word. Don't recognize it. So we did just kind of run our hands over it, took a look at it, felt around the machine directly. And we don't really seem to still know what it does. Generate a field that unmoored everything within it from time everything within it from time itself. So perhaps that's it generated the field here. That's what it's talking about. I mean, it's still here. I wonder if it's used for anything, or there must be, it's still here in the government district. So it must be either important, or maybe it just sits and it's a marvel. Let's take a look through the orbiting holes. Ooh, we gained an item, a cyclonic cube. You step too close, and one of the anomalies hisses past your hip like a disc made of razors. One of your pouches feels heavier. It seems the anomaly has left you a present. So that would be the cyclonic cube here. Okay, well, we can hover over it here. Oh, it's an oddity. Its value is 251. Light moves strangely through this glass cube, forming square patterns of blue and purple colors. I can use it, but it is an oddity. We'll take a look at this later. Try to remember why this machine feels so familiar. Okay, so here's a circumstance where it's too bad I didn't pick up this skill, because I was tempted to because of this very reason, and I hope I don't regret it. But it looks like we would have to expend quite a bit, but I really like these, so I'm gonna go ahead and do it. I hate it when I fail, when I expend so many resources. So we were lucky. I mean, not lucky, but fortunate to not fail. It was a 30% chance, and eventually it's gonna happen. You close your eyes to better concentrate, sinking into the currents of a memory that does not belong to you, or at least to the body you are in. And you hear the thunderous heartbeat of the operational generator calling you from across centuries. You open cold, focused eyes, ignoring the screams, the drifting tangles of black smoke. Your attention is solely focused on the health of the machine's heartbeat. You reach into the hissing guts of the generator, adjusting and tuning, hoping. Gain some experience. The heartbeat bleeds into the present. Your body's hand, rests on the rusty surface and the now ancient machine. So it appears that, we do have a familiarity with this machine, and it talked about it in such a way as though it were alive. Ignoring the screams, you open cold focus eyes, ignoring the screams, the drifting tangles of black smoke. Your attention is solely focused on the health of this machine's heartbeat. So I don't know if that's like a metaphor, or if it quite literally means it was like alive. I think it's more of a metaphor in this case. The thunderous heartbeat of the operational generator calling you from across centuries. There's definitely something mystical going on with it. There's a mystical tone to the description, but it isn't explicit in terms of how it talks about it. So it's a little hard to tell. So let's examine it again, see if we get anything else now that we have this memory. This generator combines a huge number of mismatched parts into a functional whole. Once again, you notice the Cercinet symbol etched into the side like a maker's mark. So there doesn't seem to be anything much that we can do at this moment. Obviously, this symbol is very important, and I don't know what this word means, like in real life, Cercinet. So we'll have to look it up. So we'll leave it alone. Doesn't look like we can do anything for now, so we'll just leave it. I don't know if there's anybody else we want to talk to yet. We may talk to people here later. It doesn't look like we can go into this building here. But let's go on our main quest, and we'll go to the Order of Truth. We could actually, you know what? We could go down first. Into the underbelly. But I feel like we might get distracted if we go down there. And I'm fine with being distracted. That doesn't bother me. But all right, we'll go here first. Okay, great. Now that we're here, speak to Min. He leads... Oh, I wish those would go away so fast. I should pay better attention. I wish that I could bring up the chat to to see what people said, like past chat abilities. You can do that in games like Baldur's Gate and whatnot. Maybe there's a hotkey. I'll have to look it up. I know I said that before. Okay, we're going to take a quick 5-minute break. I need some tea, and I will be back in 5 minutes. Okay. Okay, we're back. We're going to return to game here. I'm going to see if I can quick save. Yes, so F5 works for quick save, and I haven't been doing that. I probably should. I haven't been saving at all during the stream. I'm always saving at the end, so probably a good idea to save regularly. I'm usually in the habit, but I just get so caught up in the story. Okay. So, Min of An Liang. So I believe that that's who Calistag told us to speak with. Looks like we can interact with this. Let's examine some stuff from afar. This synth sarcophagus could hold a large human. Its surface is pitted as if it survived a sandstorm, and the original color has worn away. The light that shines from within this strong glass chamber has a cruel and clinical glow. Its doors are firmly sealed. A mass of leathery flesh sags against the railing. Sharp probes are stuck into its skin, surrounded by festering sores that ooze a foul-smelling oil. So, interesting to see these things here. They appear to be powered by whatever this device here is. And Aligarn had alluded to experimentation that Calistag had engaged in, vivisection specifically, so dissecting things. I don't know if she did something like that, or if the Order of Truth does stuff like that. He made some references to, chopping me up, chopping people up, and to learn about them. And potentially having my parts sold, my body parts, which would be interesting. I'm not sure why they would be sold.
Plant my face in a pillow.
So he just said, need to plant my face in a pillow. I wonder how the resting system works in here. We haven't seen any opportunities to rest, and that'll replenish our pools here. And it looks like...
Yes.
I'm not sure how to do that.
Onward.
If there's anything... I haven't seen anything about resting. Stat pools can be refilled by using items or sleeping, so we might have to go to a specific place. Let's take a look at this Cyclonic cube. Light moves strangely through this glass cube, forming square patterns of blue. I don't know what happens if we use it. Oh, okay. Interesting. So, I guess we'll do this before we speak to anyone. Translucent panes spin behind the smooth glass of this cube, often defying the dimensions containing them. You catch glimpses of various objects or scenes contained within. You clear your throat involuntarily, and the pace of the spinning goes even faster, as though the cube was waiting for you to speak or ask a question. So, who am I? This has been kind of an interesting question that we've been asking since the beginning, because we don't know if we are a cast-off or, in fact, are the changing god. I think I'm leaning towards us being a cast-off, but we are the last cast-off, it says, and that's a bit of metagaming there, because I can see that in names, and that's what we're referred to. So that's giving us some clues just outside of what our character's knowledge would be in terms of what our identity is. The spinning panes within the cube slow, then halt entirely, revealing a single image at the center of the cube. Freshly baked pastry, mounded with cream and glossy fruit, held within 2 cupped hands. The object fades particle by particle with no further explanation. You've either received the exact answer to your question through an idiom you have no hope of grasping, or the cube completely misunderstood you. So, who am I? So it held a freshly baked pastry, mounted with cream and glossy fruit, held within 2 cupped hands. So I don't know. Yeah, it's true. It's something that I don't understand, certainly, and apparently my character doesn't either. Either a reference or, as it said, the cube just misunderstood the question. I don't know what it is, so let's see what happens if we ask again. The spinning panes within the cube slow, then halt entirely, revealing a single image at the center of the cube. We'll see if we get the same thing. A rust-speckled construct struggling to crawl from a pile of rotting cloth. So we got a different image this time when we asked the same question. So that suggests to me that either it's just giving us random images and they're essentially meaningless, or it's giving us different aspects of an answer. It could be either. The object disappears behind the spinning panes as the cube prepares for your next question. Let's ask why the sorrow is hunting me. The spinning panes within the cube slow, then halt entirely, revealing a single image at the center. Sickly animals huddled around a diseased pond. The object disappears behind the spinning panes as the cube prepares for your next question. I don't understand what you're trying to tell me. Can you explain? Spinning cube, image, a 13-legged insect pinned by the edge of a book. Interesting. And what are you? The cube goes utterly, this is a little different. The cube goes utterly opaque for several seconds before the panes reappear. Okay. So it's different. Can you tell me what you are? Let's see if the same thing happens. Cube goes opaque again. It does not want to answer that question. So it seems to understand what we're asking, or it has some understanding, because it's responding differently when I ask these questions. So maybe it's playing some kind of game, or it's being coy, but it seems to have some understanding of what we're saying to it. These answers don't mean anything to me. Spinning panes revealing an image. A sleek, furry creature biting its own paw. Well, I don't know that it's useless, so I don't want to say that. Maybe later on we'll find out a little bit more about what this cube either does or what it means or something along those lines. So I want to know what you are. We'll see if it goes opaque again. It remains dark for almost a minute before the panes reappear. So it didn't appear to like that, if this is an indication of something that it doesn't like. So we are going to put the cube away, and we will just hold on to it. And maybe that's all it does. Maybe it just presents us with random images, but it didn't like when I was asking about who it was. I would like to find out more about that in the future. Okay. Guess we'll go talk to Min. This priest is tall, thin, and dressed only in black. Narrow slashes of oil decorate his unlined skin like letters in an unknown tongue. Here, narrow slashes of oil decorate his unlined skin like letters in an unknown tongue. I don't really know what slashes of oil, how they're decorating his skin. But, whatever. Moving on. His eyes are harried, but alive with intelligent humor. They land on you with a tiny flicker of recognition. He's thinking here. He's back. I wonder what brings him here now. So, I've been here before, either in this body or another. I wonder how long the changing god stays in his body. I remember very early on, I believe it was Calisteg saying that he doesn't like to stay in bodies very long. He changes quite frequently. So, I don't know, but I don't know what long means. Is it a couple weeks, couple months, couple years, decades? Who knows? Then his gaze moves from you to your companion. Hello, Calisteg. Here to work or just visit? And with the husk, I hope this isn't a long-term visit. So, the husk, it referred to her as a husk before, or he might be talking about me. So, I think he's talking about me. His smile, you note, is the slightest bit strained. So this is our perception skill. So now it's coming into play. So this is telling us a little bit about his state of mind, where he's at. So he's obviously uncomfortable or in some kind of rush, probably uncomfortable. He was just standing here. So he doesn't particularly like that we're here. Just a bit of business. Have you ever heard anything about a resonance chamber, Min? We're looking for a way to repair one. Your what? Min gasps. I thought that thing was a myth, and you're trying to repair it. Where is it? So is that what he and Salamary were working on? I'd love to see that. So Salamary was the person, whomever, who hired Koro to come and investigate the fallen star, which was us, apparently. So he and Salamary, who knows who Salamary was working with in this instance, but Salamary has some interest, obviously, in both us, the Changing God, and perhaps the Resonance Chamber as well. So, and you're trying to repair it, where is it? I don't know if I want to say. It's none of your business, or I'd rather not say. In a dome in the Reef of Fallen Words. I think that in order to get their help, I don't really feel like telling them. I'm a little worried. So maybe I will say I'd rather not say right now and see what his reaction is. It's a little hostile, but I'm a little distrustful of this group along with the cult, because I'm concerned about how they're going to treat me given my identity, and obviously he recognizes it already, but they might try to use me in ways that I don't want them to. So we'll play a little coy for now. Ah, he says, his mouth twisting. Probably wise. Anyway, do you have any piece of the machine with you? And I do have the shard that I took, which I'm currently using as a weapon. So he doesn't seem to mind that we didn't want to tell him, and appreciates that, in the sense of perhaps it's a way for him to have plausible deniability if anyone were to ask or anything like that. He doesn't actually want to know where it is, because it sounds like there's some pretty dangerous people that he knows, like Salamary, who's willing to hire people to do dangerous work, so probably is willing to do dangerous work themselves, because the Koro, whom she hired, is a dangerous person, and he was apparently afraid of her. So sounds like a dangerous person, and he may not want to know where it is, because then if he ever gets asked, then he is welcome to say no, he doesn't know. We'll let him take a look at this shard. He handles the shard with care. Organic and crystalline. It was grown in the appropriate shape for the machine. This is definitely what Salamary was working on all those years ago with her partner. He looks at you, his eyebrow raised, but does not say more. Reluctantly, he hands it back to you. It must be him then, but why lie? I'll ask Salamary about it later. So maybe when he says, is this what he and Salamary were working on, maybe it was my cast-off body when it was the Changing God, and the Changing God, as in this body, was working with Salamary on this resonance chamber. I don't know. It sounds kind of, just from this, that's what I'm kind of getting from the meaning. But apparently he's on speaking terms with her, and we'll ask her about it. In all honesty, I focus more on traditionally powered machines. Salamary has some experience with organic machine construction. You might ask her about it. So tell me about that machine behind you. Who should I ask about the resonance chamber again? Salamary, and let's talk about something else. Tell me about that machine behind you. It makes levies, the guardians of Sagas. Okay, so that's interesting. I didn't realize that the levies were made in this way. So there was almost kind of a gruesome, macabre nature to these machines when it was described, and you have this mound of flesh, and it's pussy and gross, and then you have this glass chamber here that seems very strong and difficult to break, and same with this kind of sarcophagus device. And so they're just generating these guards here, which is an interesting way to do it. I wonder if they are mindless. We haven't spoken to any, so maybe we'll have to see if we can find out anything about what they're like. Makes levies, the guardians of Sagas. He rubs his chin. Our records say that Diviatiku found a similar device in the ruins of Archipelagia far to the north. He convinced the city that a local version, a modified one, would be of use. I think he's talking, yeah, he's talking about this machine here. Okay. In order to become a citizen, everyone in Sagus Cliffs, even the ones born here, gives a year of their lives to the machine. It uses that borrowed time to create a levy. So interesting. Someone has to sacrifice a year of their life in order to create the guards. This is we mentioned before about how this is kind of a dystopian world, and that is a pretty big sacrifice for people to make, and it's to become a citizen. So presumably you don't have to be a citizen. We're not I don't believe I'm a citizen. I assume not. And we're here, so we don't need citizenship in order to get into the city. But I wonder what benefits it confers to someone to be a citizen, and if it's kind of a structured two-tiered or more tiered society with a kind of case system where citizens are of greater value than those who are not. It's an elegant way to serve. No one should be forced to give up their lives. What if someone only has a year to live? Would they die the second they entered the machine? Gold tide raise. Oh, right. I wanted to see if I could find anything out about the tides. No, he frowns. They never die in the machine, but it catches up with them a few days later. That doesn't happen very often. Sometimes I think the machine actually saves them, prevents them from meeting whatever fate was in store, but not always. At any rate, the levies created by the machine are nearly identical, and they only last a year, okay? After that, they quietly return to the machine and dissolve into... His hands grip the air, trying to frame the words. Gray gunk. It's incredibly unpleasant to watch, but they don't seem to mind. So maybe that's this thing over here that's on the wall, kind of a repository. Not sure why they wouldn't have a better storage solution for that, but they deserve more than a year of servitude. Fascinating, and that's disgusting. Fascinating. I don't like it, but I don't want to stir the pot. I'm already kind of in an interesting position, being who I am, and yeah, that's very interesting. Blue tide raised a tiny amount. It is, and nothing is wasted. We just use the same gunk for the next levy. He frowns. Okay, so I guess this is the repository that they reuse. Good thing too. I have no idea how to make more gunk. Anyway, that's the machine. Any other questions? So gives a year of their lives to the machine. So I guess they go into the machine. They do. I wanted to kind of double check that. So who should I talk? We know that's what's her name? See if it says Salamary. She's working on organic, so we don't know. She must be in here somewhere. Let's talk about something else. Can you tell me about your work? He says, shaking his head. That's a big question, even on the best days. I specialize in mechanical Numenera, intelligent or not, but I haven't had much time for research since I started managing our branch of the Order. So what about the mechanical Numenera? We do not really do mechanics. That wasn't one of the areas that we specialized in or got training in. So maybe we can find out some more information. I would be incredibly grateful if you did, he says. Every other conversation I have revolves around how I'm ruining the Order, or not doing enough to save the Order. Interesting. He rubs his forehead with the back of his calloused hand. Please, ask me about wires and blinking lights. So we already talked about the machine. I don't have any questions about wires and blinking lights. Too bad for him, I guess. Let's talk about something else. What is the Order of Truth? Good question. He chews his lip for a moment, framing his words. We live on the surface of a vast labyrinth of layered ruins, packed with relics and artifacts, windows into the past. Some people are content to find them, use them, and sell them. He grins. But not the Order of Truth, not the Aeon Priests. We want to understand the Numenera, study them, point at them, and argue about them. Now, in the West, the Order of Truth is much bigger than this little enclave. It's a vast organization led by the Amber Pope. Out there, our words turn the heads of kings. He shrugs. Around here, we occasionally get discounts on equipment from local vendors and a free cup of tea. Not that I'm complaining. How did a chapter of the Order of Truth end up out here? So out west, they have a lot of influence and power, and this just seems to be a small section of the subsection of the Order of Truth. It was founded 300 years ago by Vargellan Nano named Divyatiku. That's his statue outside. He governed, or you could say ruled, the order with more force than you see in traditional chapters. He sets us up in this spire, handpicked new members, and chose them for particular projects of his design. We're not quite that organized these days, he says, shrugging. For better or worse, leaders are chosen by consent of the other priests and priestesses, and they don't have a say in what everyone works on. They just deal with the politics and the paperwork so that everyone can focus on their ruinous side projects and hideously dangerous experiments. He flashes a grin, which is to say, I'm the leader because I'm the only one who admits we need to eat. So you sound awfully dismissive of your colleague's work. It does seem like he has some disdain. So perhaps there is some competition between them, on average, between the members, and they all tend to compete, so they talk down about each other's work. Or maybe he's unique in this respect and is not a team player, but then it's odd that he would kind of be the leader. So leadership is a lonely path, and really so much food so much more important than knowledge. Well, yeah, food's pretty important. So it's hard to know if he's being a little facetious here as well. So I'll say leadership is a lonely path, because it does sound like he's focused on some very practical matters and he misses his work. So he may not be saying these things in a pejorative sense. They're ruinous side projects and hideously dangerous experiments. He might be longing for those things himself. It seemed like he enjoyed the work that he did and doesn't like this leadership role, but does it out of necessity. So I think that we'll throw him a bone here. Silver tide raised by a tiny amount. Says, I wish that were true, he says. I'm rarely lonely. People visit me all the time, usually furious and waving their hands. He sighs. But someone has to deal with the world outside these walls. So yeah, it sounds like he's a little jealous of the excitement of the other people's work, and so he might have been being a little bit facetious when he said that, because it sounds like he wants to get back to that, but he's the only one who will really take on the political and practical work that is required to keep the organization running. The slave families, for some reason, aren't interested in funding wild, endless experimentation. They like results, especially weaponizable ones. So I review their requests, deflect the crazier ones, and convince my colleagues to work for a living occasionally. He nods at the nearby machine. We also create the levies that guard the city, though that's seen more as a responsibility than a favor these days. Good to see that Sagas makes scholars live in the real world. So, I appreciate his frustrations, absolutely. And being a nano myself, I think, my character, I think that he would too. He definitely is interested in information, and he likes knowing things about he has the skills in the transdimensional, the mystical realm of transdimensional objects and creatures, and also in the natural world as well. And he's a bit of a recluse himself. So I think that he would identify with Min's lamenting in this case. I do kind of like this. I don't know that you should refuse is the best advice, but follow your own interests and the funding will follow. I feel like that can be true. And in this case, definitely when you're doing research or whatever, that can be very true. So I'm going to say that even though I don't totally agree with the whole thing, I don't like the choices here, any of the choices here that much. I don't know that it's a shame that they have to earn its keep, but especially because it seems like, what they do is very practical, but some of it might be a little morally dubious as well. So we'll go ahead and say, follow your interests and funding will follow. Blue Tide and Red Tide raised a tiny amount. And he says, don't think I haven't considered it, he says with a grin. It's one of my many temptations. He scratches his head absently. What else do you want to know about the Order? Are there a lot of Aeon priests? How long have we been in this spire? How long have we been in this spire? And we gained some experience. Well, it's not actually a building, first of all, he says, grinning. And neither is the Council Tower. Take a closer look when you get a chance. They're ships. We think that they were used to explore the void between the stars long before Sagus was founded. He rubs his chin. They may be millions of years old, in fact. Now, of course, they're almost completely sealed in rock. The only other parts you can see are up close are the engines down in the underbelly. The city uses them as forge fires and energy sources. He raises a finger. Actually, that's not the only part. We use some of the lower decks for storage, but you can't see those. He makes a serious face. Very secret. So, I guess he was serious. But I wasn't going to ask necessarily, because, when you think storage, you don't necessarily think it's interesting. But then again, given the nature of this organization, I bet that their storage rooms would be very interesting. Okay. So, are there a lot of Aeon priests in Sagus Cliffs? Yes, but they're not strictly here, he says. Some are out on digs or various expeditions. We only have a few Aeon priests in the city right now. There's Salameri, who I mentioned before. Balazar studies biochemical life forms. Orth Fong is an expert in inexplicable and malicious architecture and should be back soon. He pauses, ticking his fingers and furrowing his brow. And Snurf, of course. A visitant who's developed an interest in all forms of reproduction. It isn't one of us, and I don't think it wants to be. But we gave it a space to work on its, projects. He leans in. Don't go over there unless you've invented a way to scrub your memory clean. Also, Lan Yuring, of course. He's been educated in the Order, but he's still looking for a discovery that will make him an Aeon priest. So it sounds like there's like a rite of passage sort of thing. You need to make some kind of discovery that will allow you to become a Aeon priest or a full member of some sort, as opposed to some sort of apprentice type role. So I don't need to know about the members anymore. Let's look again at Salamari, who mentioned before, and he had said that she was an expert on transdimensional stuff, I believe, which makes sense because that is related to our predicament as well as the nature of our being, I guess. Let's talk about something else. See if he has anything else interesting to say. No, I think that's fine. Well, farewell here. Okay, well, that was a lot of text to go through. We are going to take a quick break, and we will get back in a couple minutes. So, see you soon. All right, and we're back. So I think, take a quick look around. This is a pretty small space.
All right.
Looks like we can interact with some stuff here. There's a lot of stuff to view. Let's see what happens when we click on this. This desk is cluttered with scrawled notes, piles of paper, and worn books. The owner was either extremely disorganized or left in a hurry. Take a look at the papers and books. You rustle through the mess of documents and notes. Most of them discuss the buildings and architecture of prior worlds. They're filled with drawings and descriptions of bizarre structures uncovered by scholars and explorers. The owner of this desk seems to have been particularly interested in doors, door frames, and archways. He has drawn circles around all such things, but his scrawled comments are never more revealing than similar but not a match, or could there be a connection here? Let's look again, see if we can find anything else. Again, you scan the jumbled books and documents, but you don't find anything new. Most of them describe the architecture of prior worlds. Anything resembling a door frame has been circled in brightly colored ink. You also notice a few letters and personal correspondence, but they appear to have been written in code or perhaps in a foreign script that isn't familiar to you. Is there anything else? Okay, so we don't get anything new. We'll leave the desk alone. So it seems that there's something related to doors. Look at this, this cube here. Kind of looks like the cube that we picked up, doesn't it? A little different. I wonder if they're related in some way. I wonder if we use this in a specific place, if it will behave differently. So we'll have to test it out in different places. Interesting. So let's try to pay attention to doors that we find in any ruins. They've made many references to civilization, the previous civilizations that existed, and that's what the Numenera are, as my understanding, is that you have either the creatures or the objects or artifacts that are remnants of these civilizations that existed previously. And one of those things might be doors. So let's take a look. So there's a door right here, and we can examine it. But let's go take a look at whatever this desk is. This desk is tidy and neat. A book entitled Ecology of Biochemical Hybrids is open to a sparse entry on the enigmatic Nycthemeron. Enigmatic. Yes.
On it.
I suspect so. This glowing display shows a globe, the ninth world probably. Green lines depict trajectories that a ship could follow into the void between the worlds. So that's right, we are inside what was previously a ship, and if you look at what it looks like, it appears that it was some kind of ship. And I wonder if these are newer constructions or if they were part of the ship originally. They look like they're built into the structure, but they've obviously been maintained in some way, which wouldn't surprise me. But once again, I wonder if they're still functioning after all this time, because they had mentioned that these ships could be millions of years old.
All right.
These books are piled haphazardly on the floor. They reflect a dozen areas of inquiry, most of which are entirely unrelated to each other. So a random assortment of books. And we can interact. Oh, we can loot here. Ooh, there's a book. Abhumans of the Sagas Protectorate. It's an item. Let's take a look. Ooh, there's a bit to read here. Okay, we'll go through it. See what this book is. It's worth quite a bit. 250 shin. All right. The creatures known as abhumans are believed to descend from human ancestors, but at some point in their history, they became something else. Perhaps through mutation, directed breeding, or accelerated evolution. Unlike mutants, abhumans have rejected their humanity and live as beasts, though some of them are very clever. Nearly all of them are violent and cruel, preying upon humanity when they can. Historically, two species of abhumans have been common in the Sagas Protectorate. The first is the vile Murden, hunched and bird-like, with a sharp, dirty beak and a thick down of black feathers. Murdens subsist as thieves and murderers on the fringes of human society, rarely posing an organized threat to a community, but often ambushing lone victims or terrorizing isolated homesteads. They are incapable of speech, but they communicate with one another through a primitive form of telepathy that bleeds into the minds of everyone nearby, which can prove a dangerous distraction. Most of the time, Murdans are notorious cowards, preferring to flee if the odds are not clearly in their favor. The other abhuman species that once prospered here is the Yovak. Short and squat with jaundiced skin, Yovaki hunt and kill for pleasure, and they eat whatever they kill. In the days when slavery was openly practiced in the Sagas Cliffs, bands of Yovoki were permitted to range across the frontier, raiding Autochthonos, I don't know what that is, Autochthonos tribes of humans and mutants, and taking captives to be sold in the flesh markets of the Bloom. The vicious Yovoki would sometimes rape their captives as well, and stories say that children were sometimes born from these pairings, tainting the bloodlines of certain families. After the rebellion of Chilla the Great, slavery was outlawed in Sagas Cliffs, and the Yovaki fled the Protectorate. They haven't been seen in centuries, but the people of Sagas still remember them, and any proof of a blood connection to these creatures is enough to destroy a family's reputation. So they're short and squat, jaundiced skin. They hunt for pleasure. They eat what they eat, whatever they kill. Interesting. So they would hunt tribes of humans and mutants, taking captives. Interesting. And then we've got these bird folks. I'm sure that we will run into some eventually. And they are the Murden. So we'll keep our eyes out for them. But we know that they're cowards. Maybe we can use that to our advantage. And they project their thoughts. So we don't... I wonder if that'll have any interactions with our ability to scan thoughts. So perhaps we get more information, or maybe, like it said, it's little more than a distraction. Because they can't speak. So I'm going to take it. I don't know what happens if someone notices. Apparently they don't. Okay. Let's check out this desk. I like this this object here. A small wire frame pyramid sits on a base of polished wood. Lying inside the pyramid is a dull sphere of silverish metal. So let's look at the sphere. Suspended in its wire cage, the sphere is almost perfectly sized to fit in your palm. The gaps in the wiry mesh are large enough for you to reach through, though not large enough to pull the sphere out. Let's examine the frame. The frame appears to be fixed firmly in place. It's constructed of an organic material grown in a manner similar to bone or coral. Okay, so it's organic, and it's grown, so it's not built. Thinner, vein-like strands of the material wind across each of the triangular sides. Something strikes you as odd about it, but you can't quite determine why. I think everything here is a little odd, but fortunately, our character, the last cast-off, is familiar with a lot of this stuff. He's knowledgeable about both natural and trans-dimensional creatures and information in those regards. Try to discover what seems odd about the frame. So, perception is something that we're good at. We match with Callisteg. She has more intellect in her pool than we do. So, sure, let's spend some of it. While examining the frame, you try nudging it gently, and it shifts in a most peculiar manner. You focus on moving the frame in various directions and discover that it can be easily lifted straight up off the base and lowered back down onto it, but it refuses to move laterally even while being held in mid-air. So it can go straight up and down off this base, but we can't move it side to side at all. So let's examine the base. The base appears to be made from a slab of lurid red stone. So that's stone at the base there. I wasn't sure what it was. On closer inspection, you recognize it as a petrified wood of some kind. An inscription has been written on the base in front of the pyramid. So examine the inscription. The inscription is in an alien language. It has been burned into the wood and then filled with a luminous substance. Although you know you haven't seen the language in your own short life as a cast-off, it seems familiar. Okay, great. So we're going to try to go back into our history and see if we can get some information about this. I'm starting to regret not picking up the skill anamnesis. Try to recall where we've seen this language before. These ones are tough, and I'm having to expend a lot of resources in order to do them, but I'm really pleased each time we succeed. So give it a go. We're successful. A distant memory surfaces. You're standing before a large metal cylinder that looms a meter or two above your head. The cylinder is a time capsule of sorts, and you're convinced that what lies within is critical to your latest experiments. The problem, alas, is that the capsule is locked, and the only clue to opening it is a series of strange glyphs etched into its sides. Glancing around, you see dusty tomes, faded banners, metal scraps, and dozens of other objects, all featuring the same strange glyphs. You spent a lifetime collecting every trace of this language that could be found, and decades of study have finally led you to this moment. You look upon the glyphs, and you know their meaning. Stepping forward, you reach toward the cylinder as prescribed by the etchings, and it flares to life. Shaking off the memory, you look down at the inscription and realize that its meaning is now clear. The crimson dawn greets the seeker. The violet dusk sees the search's end. Okay, so the crimson dawn greets the seeker. The violet dusk sees the search's end. So, I don't know who the seeker is. Maybe it's us. So in the dawn, that greets the seeker, and then at the end of the day, maybe not the same day, the violet dusk sees that search come to an end. So for whatever that seeker is searching for, apparently dusk is what brings it on. Read it again. See if we get anything. Nope. Touch the sphere. Why not? We touch the triangle. Let's be adventurous. As you extend your hand towards the sphere, the thinner strands along the front side of the cage retract toward the thicker frame edges, creating an opening large enough for the sphere to fit through. Okay, well, it obviously we didn't try to take it through before because we didn't touch it, but it did make a specific point to mention that it wouldn't fit through, but clearly it's accommodating us taking the sphere. So let's take it. You pull the sphere out of the frame through the opening facing you, and it immediately begins to glow a scintillating blue. You pause a moment to make sure that there are no other effects, then try to put it with the rest of your belongings. At some point during this motion, the sphere simply vanishes, only to reappear within the frame, once again a dull gray. Apparently, taking the sphere will not be quite so easy. Let's take it again. I assume the same thing will happen. You pull the sphere out again, and once again it glows a brilliant blue before disappearing and returning to the frame. After a little experimentation, you discover that the sphere's position seems to reset whenever it moves beyond a particular distance from the device. As long as you keep it within that distance, as you are now, you can hold on to it. So, we could take the entire device. I don't know that we're actually going to be able to do that. It looks to be quite large. But maybe we do something with it again. I don't want to take the entire device. I don't think I'm going to get away with that. But we can put the sphere back in the frame. As you place the sphere back in the frame, it changes to a vibrant orange color. It occurs to you that the sphere seems to respond to moving through the frame boundaries. Perhaps moving it through the other sides will produce additional results, so kind of pushing it through perhaps, or taking it out from a different side. So let's try on the back opening. Ooh, I like that one too. Let's do the back opening. The sphere's glow changes to a brilliant blue. Try the right. Blazing orange, left. Lurid red, front. Bright orange. So the back was brilliant. Back. Right. Blazing orange. Left is lurid red. Front is bright orange. Right is dull orange. Cool green. Okay, so it doesn't always change the same color. I wanted to do it a bunch of times to see if perhaps it was always doing the same color or if it was a different color. I don't know if it means anything, but let's see what happens when we do it by lifting up the triangle. Oh, shining yellow. See if we get the same one. Indigo. Shining yellow again. Okay, so interesting. That means the crimson dawn greets the seeker. The violet dusk sees the search's end. Okay, so maybe this is like a puzzle. And we want to first have the crimson dawn. So it did say it turns red. And then it also would turn indigo. So that's like a violet, I guess. So let's see. If we go left. Deep violet. Interesting. Read the inscription again. No. Front. Deep violet hue. Bottom. Indigo. See if we can. Okay. What was that? That was left. Was lurid red. And we did the bottom. That's indigo. So left. Lurid red. Right. Blazing orange. Left. Lurid red. Back. Where was the purple? Cool green. Left. Front. Okay. Ooh, maybe. So let's do the inscription again. So left is lurid red. Crimson dawn. Okay, so via the front. Bright orange. Deep violet. So if we do it the same, so left, deep violet. Lurid red. Blazing orange. Brilliant blue. Indigo. Shining yellow. I can't seem to discern, so left. It does, if it's like if you switch to it, you'll always get the same color. Lurid red. Indigo. Left. Lurid red. Back is the cool green. Lurid red. Well, let's take the entire device, see what happens. Device is far too bulky to carry with you. As if reading your thoughts, Min looks over and shakes his head sadly while muttering something under his breath. So, we will come back to this device later, perhaps. I feel like it's some kind of puzzle, but I'm not sure. So, let's go ahead and talk to Salamari.
Yes.
We know that she's the one who apparently hired Koro to come find us. She's talking to Koro. He's right there. I didn't even notice. Interesting. Well, so we're seeing Koro again. Here he is. Let's save. I need you to... It sounds like he's explaining his failure. You recognize one of the parties in this one-sided argument. Koro, the star seeker you met in the reef. He studies his boots, silent and miserable, so he's looking down, pretty unhappy with his circumstance. It sounds like Salamari is not pleased with him. The other is a tall woman in finely cut robes, regarding the man with arch disdain. When I told you to retrieve the falling star, I wonder if you heard. Return to me with empty hands and excuses, she sighs. I no longer need your services, Koro. Collect your things and go. What? No, Salamari. I searched the reef for hours. Whatever fell was long gone by the time we got there. And that is why you are unsuited for this work. She massages her eyes. Honestly, I didn't know what I expected. I saw promise in you, but also the flaws, and I ignored them. She spots you out of the corner of her eye and turns to you, framing a sharp rebuke at your intrusion. Her anger turns to stark amazement when she sees your face. Aden! I haven't seen you in 10 years. 10 years. I cannot begin to imagine what your excuse might be. So, perhaps a reference to what Yin was talking about before, where she and I apparently worked together on that resonance chamber. It sounds like this is confirming it. She's thinking something. Let's see what she's thinking. Our last night together was so incredible. What could possibly have driven him off? So, she could be talking about something physical, but she could also be talking about, some of the work that apparently we were doing. So maybe we made some kind of discovery or something along those lines, or made a lot of progress with this resonance chamber where we were finally able to get it functional or something like that. I am not Adden. I met a lot of people. Can you remind me how we know each other? I fell in love with someone else. Sorry, that's the truth. Okay, well, so it does seem like this is a love-related situation. If you want an apology from me, you'll be waiting a long time. I became aware of a plot against my life. I had to flee the city. I'm not Adden. Period. Indigo Tide raised a tiny amount. She blinks once, twice. A smile blooms. You're a cast-off, she murmurs, studying you from head to toe with an appraising and somewhat proprietary eye. Remarkable. This is rather like visiting a house you once owned and seeing new tenants through the windows. I've met members of your little family before, of course, trailing around in that shadow, looking for clues or trying to repair the damage. Her smile is genuine and somewhat sad. Her eyes linger on yours as if looking for any flash of recognition. I can help you if you like, but I need something from you first. So that sounds interesting. Are we talking about romantic favors? I'm not really interested in any romance in this circumstance, but apparently there was something there. I'll think it over. So that sounds interesting. So we need some help for this resonance chamber. So let's see what she has to offer. Doesn't it? She says. Well, it's a bit of a long pitch, so do let me know when you're ready to talk it over. So, I'm trying to repair something called a resonance chamber. I don't know if we want to ask that first. Maybe we'll ask, I have some questions about the changing god. Good, she says. Curiosity about your origin is quite healthy. Her expression hardens. I will be happy to share what I know once you've completed that favor for me. I repair something called a resonance chamber. That contraption, she says. I'd be delighted to help, as I was before, but I'll need you to do me that little favor. I'll need you to do that little favor for me first. Enter the anechoic lazaret and make it safe for me to resume my work there. She lowers her voice. If you seek assistance from the others in the order, do be careful. I suspect one of them is an informant for the Memovira. Too many of our finds have been pillaged by her thugs. Okay. So, if you seek assistance from the others in the order. So, it sounds like there might be an informant here. Enter the anechoic lazaret. I don't know where that is. I'm sure that we can find out. Hold on, you think there's a spy in the Order of Truth? Almost certainly, she says, losing interest. But I let Min worry about that. Spies aren't a problem if you never share your secrets. Good enough. Unless you leave them lying around somewhere. Even if you're careful, it's hard not to do that sometimes. So, what is the Memovira? The simple definition would be a crime lord in the bloom, but she is quite a bit more than that. In all ways that matter, she rules the tangled cesspit, and her spies are everywhere. What do you do here? I study the ruins and remnants of past worlds, she says. When I have time, of course. These days, the Order spends more of its time helping the city than on its own research. So, Min had talked about this a little bit, feeling like he wasn't able to pursue his interests, obviously because he's in a leadership position, but it seems like this is a feeling that others in the Order are having as well. Still laboring under lesser minds, dear, Callistag says, running the edge of her thumb along a nail. I've never understood how you put up with it. So, she's too smart for the Order. What disturbs me is that she knows and yet stays. So, she's quite abrasive in her way of addressing this, but but she understands that Salamari is intelligent, or she believes that Salamari is too intelligent for the Order. It's quite simple, Salamari says with brittle humor. They pay. That helps a great deal. Will you be staying with us for long this time? To give her body so completely. What does she know? What is she really after? So I think she's referring to Callistag, but I don't know what she's talking about giving her body so completely. You know, I don't know if it's in relation to us or if she's talking about these trans-dimensional echoes that are around Callistag. I think not, Callistag says, letting her hand fall. Busy times ahead, I'm afraid. Let's talk about that favor. Gave us a little bit of information. Of course. She draws your attention to a map of the Reef of Fallen Worlds on her workstation and taps a gilded ornate structure not far from the dome containing the resonance chamber. This is the anechoic lazaret. It has been hopelessly sealed since the dawn of the Ninth World until, she smiles, I managed it in it a week or two. It was quite simple once you figured out the trick. I've been slipping in and out at nights, investigating the technology within, taking notes. She frowns. Then, more recently, I discovered that the structure was sealed again. So, do you think one of your colleagues is responsible, or maybe you tripped an ancient security measure? So, I don't want to lead her on. Let's remain silent, see if she says anything, or perhaps thinks anything. I believe someone tramped inside with no regard for the dangers and managed to trigger a failsafe that resealed the structure. So that leads us to believe that it was like an ancient security mechanism. So we let her lead that conversation. We didn't want to maybe give her, if she was perhaps going to lie, we don't want to let on that we are willing to accept a certain answer or give her an idea for a certain answer. We want to see what she says. She flicks a strand of hair from her eyes. I need someone to reopen the lazaret and, she waves a vague hand, handle whatever nonsense the trespassers have stirred up in their wake. So it's probably dangerous. So why not send Koro? Why me? Why handle this yourself? So let's, I don't want her to send Koro. So why me? Simple, she says. You are a cast-off. All of you are made to be useful in some way or another. All of you are, at minimum, competent. In short, you're better than any of the draft I have at hand. So that probably applies to Koro anyway. Besides, I can reopen the structure. The concern is what's waiting for me inside. She holds your gaze for a moment to make sure you understand. I want you to deal with whatever's gone wrong in there so I can resume my work. Needless to say, I would also prefer the structure in an undamaged state as I left it. She smooths her robes. Well, there it is. Will you help? Yeah, I would like to help. It sounds interesting. I was very curious about that building when we were there, so I would like to go in and check it out. And it sounds like there will probably be some fighting, because she said that it may have woken some denizens, maybe some ancient guardians, Numenera or something like that are inside. So we'll go ahead and we will absolutely help her out. So yes, we will. Ooh, we got a metallic eye. Excellent, she says briskly, but relief flashes across her face. She hands you a metallic stalk with flower-like ridges along its length and a mechanical eye at one end. Let's take a look at this. So it's a quest item. This metallic flower-like device consists of a short metal stalk with a mechanical eye at the end. It was given to you by Salamari and can apparently be used as a key to enter the anechoic lazaret, a large golden structure in the Reef of Fallen Worlds. Okay, we'll dismiss that. So that's the key, basically. This, as you likely know, is the Eye of Imlox, and how I originally accessed the structure. The fact that the lazaret recognizes this organ as an authorized user implies that its builders were machine intelligences, maybe a machine civilization from before the dawn of the Ninth World. She smiles, brushing off her hands. Well, on your way, do watch your step in the reef. It can be quite dangerous. We didn't actually encounter too many dangers there, except for Koro, but it was a pretty small space that we were in, so maybe we'll see more. Please, Salamari, Koro says, edging him beside you. Give me another chance. I can handle this. I have to win her back. Her respect, I mean. Right, her respect. So maybe there was some kind of relationship between Salamari and Koro. Maybe that's what he was worried about, not living up to her expectations. So, well, Koro may join us. That would be interesting given his relationship with our other companion here. What's her name? The woman. Anyway, let's see. Let's see if he joins us. Calistag, that's her name. He shoots you a mistrustful glance, but otherwise continues pretending you don't exist. So, interestingly enough, interestingly enough, you know, I don't, you know, this guy tried to kill us and he's a mercenary, but he was obviously motivated by his relationship with Salamari. Maybe he wasn't afraid of her as much as he opined for her, although he probably is afraid of her a little bit too. It sounds like she's quite dominant over him, and he's working to both please her, and he is in a type of subordinate relationship with her. She says, looking between the two of you. Salamari considers you both, then sorts through her work table, picking up a metallic eye. You're welcome to try, Koro, she says. She hands the eye over, but holds on to it when he tries to take it. This is your last chance, she says. If you come back empty-handed, you had better be dead as well. It's pretty serious. Trembling, Koro pockets the eye and leaves, eyes downcast. So I suspect we're going to run into him there. Hopefully, well, we'll see. We hope he's alive. You know, I don't dislike him enough yet to want him dead, although I would kill him if he tries to kill me, for sure. I'll prove myself to her. Then she'll see me as more than just a mercenary. So it does sound like there's a love interest there, but potentially, you know, a professional interest in as well, and he's looking to impress her in that respect. But we'll find out. She watches him go and sighs. He's going to fail at court, of course. It's what he does best. Well, we'll ask about this. Oh, she says, her face carefully composed, mask. What is it? What is it, anyway? Oh, our blue tide. I'm not quite ready to issue definitive answers on that topic, she says lightly. I suspect that it was once a place of healing or quarantine for machine intelligences. Even if I'm wrong, this is the find of many, many lifetimes. Few remnants of the prior worlds are ever so intact. Perhaps because it was sealed for so long, it's in really good shape. So what should I know about the interior? Is it dangerous? It wasn't, she says. But since I suspect someone or something got trapped inside, she shrugs slightly. Be careful, and do try to avoid breaking anything. All right, I think we're going to leave. I think we have enough information. And I think we are going to go straight there. Maybe we'll talk to other people later. I don't want to go through and talk to everyone right now. I am interested in going there, and it sounds like there might be some combat there. There might be some creatures or something that has either risen up or got trapped inside. So we'll have an opportunity to check them out and see what we find. And Koro is going there before us, and I'm a little worried that he's not going to accomplish what he's setting out for. So I want to make sure that that he at the very least stays safe, because I think that since we know a little bit about what he's trying to accomplish with Salamari, maybe we can leverage that either now or down the road. So last thing I'm going to do, I wanted to see if there's anything in the character sheet about the tides. So let's take a look. I don't see anything yet. Don't see anything represented anywhere about the tides. Is there anything in here about tides? Reflection. Okay, nope. Nothing in here about tides. Order of truth. Nope. Nothing. So I'm going to have to wait. I assume that the game will give us information as we move forward about those tides and them raising and falling, or rising, definitely. I don't think I've seen any fall. but I've seen them rise. So I think that that will come into play as we go forward, and I will let the game lead that for me. Okay, great. Well, thank you for joining, and have a great night, and we will come back when we have the opportunity. Thanks so much, and see you later.